As I light a candle for the new year, I'm taking my time in setting up my new Hobonichi for 2023, but that doesn't mean we can't have a look at what we did before. Let's take a look at how I laid out my Hobonichi last year. As you can see, it is quite a thick boy, and I used the Astro cover from the 2001 release. When we open up to the cover, you can see that we have all of my favorite things here, or what I've really been into. And I love Mang from BT21, and me and my friends really enjoy a lot of BTS stuff, so I wanted to be able to be greeted by that when I first opened up. Instead of using the pockets to hold anything specific, I decided that it would be good to just have a few favorite things, so I'm always greeted with them when I first open this book. Specifically, Scum Villain Self-Saving System, a little character from there. This a friend gave me for BTS. I made a bookmark out of some of my favorite stickers, and you can see I just used Hey Old tag from Wig here, and then I had this cute little comfort bird. It was actually part of a sticky note set that came in with Sticky Club, but I just wanted to include it because it gives me comfy, cozy feels. I also like to keep a lot of the original things that come with the book in the front, so that way or specifically the cover, and that way I can have these as little remembrance things to have in my book and everything. I know it's just a warning label and like telling me what it is about and how to keep and care for the book. And it makes me very happy to keep these things, especially since I don't often use these little pockets as much as I thought I would when I first got into Hobonichi. Now that this year is over, and I thought I was going to change these out, I have not, so I am going to permanently stick them down here. I only used a double-sided tape to originally put these stickers in, so that way I could change it out as I wanted. I don't use the months pages, but I did try and stamp over them to have some fun with them. I think I will carry on with doing different stamp colors on the month section, but I also might be using it this year, so there is a lot to unpack there. One of the things that I like to do is choose a quote or a poem from this year, for the year. Last year's quote was, "There is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action, because there is only one of you in all of the time. This expression is unique, and if you block it, it will never exist in any other medium, and it will be lost. It is not your business to determine how good it is, nor how valuable, nor how it compares with others' expressions. It is your business to keep it yours, clearly and directly, to keep the channel open. You do not even have to believe in yourself or your work. You have to keep yourself open and aware to the energies that motivate you. Keep the channels open. No satisfaction whatsoever at any time. Divine dissatisfaction, blessed unrest, and makes us more alive than others." And that was by Martha Graham. I thought this quote was very insightful because I often do hold myself back from sharing myself to share my work that I do, because I see others have already done it. And that is a mistake, because just because somebody else has done it doesn't mean that everybody has seen what someone else has done. And just because somebody else has done it doesn't mean that I can't show it too. I like to compare this to if somebody has made a recipe, just because they've made it doesn't mean that I can't make that recipe too. That I can't make the food too, because each of us live in different spaces. And I really felt that at the beginning of the year, especially as I was going through some really heavy times. Each year, I tend to choose a word that helps represent what I want to do that year. And last year, my word of the year was devotion. I chose it because I wanted to become even more dedicated to love, loyalty, and enthusiasm for a person, activity, or cause. And you can see that I took the Hobonichi techo book for 2020. It folded out, but I cut it into pieces, and I used it to make this nice little booklet. I had hoped to be able to fill up this little booklet, but I didn't, and that's okay. What I did do was I wrote down what it means to me. What do I want devotion to mean to me in that space? At the time, it was all about animation. And the fun thing about these words of the year is that they turn out totally different. I'll get into that in a different video, specifically about how different my word of the year turned. Continuing on, here we have the different ways that I choose to keep up my book. One of the things I like to do is kind of keep a running list of things that I want to get into or answer questions for. This happened to be for my TikTok questions. Now I'm using Google Keeps, but going back through here, I think I might want to double check what I've already done on this list and see what more I can do in the coming years, or trying to remind myself of what I want to do. Google Keeps has been really helpful, so that way I'll go back to the list more, because I'll forget that I put lists down in here sometimes. So having it in two places is going to be for the best for me. The beginning of the year is always a little bit of a rocky start of how I want to get started. This time, I chose to do it more of a memory keeper and to write notes down. You can see that I was kind of sad, and there's a practice that my mom likes to do that is something called wild writing. And so it's essentially reading a poem and taking a piece of that poem and writing a poem from that, and just let it be stream of consciousness. I was very sad at the beginning of the year. Thankfully, I was able to get the help that I needed, so that way I could do more and be better and feel better. I'm sure as we all have gone through quite a few things, you can relate to the struggle that has come, all of the ups and downs. And I can really see this here. This is from a poem called Lori Ranger, and the piece that I pulled, or that I was recommended to pull, was, when my mind starts playing, what is even the point? When my mind starts playing, am I too much? When my mind starts planning, am I not enough? When my mind starts playing, what if I was dead? When my mind starts playing, I couldn't voice what was next. This was very nice to write down, because this, even though it's sad, it is a good way of hearing the thoughts that were actually going on in my mind. And with that, with being able to see it on paper, it helped me realize how much help I actually needed. And since I needed more help than I was allowing myself at the time, I reached out and took the necessary steps in my personal life and in my medical life to get the help that I needed. One of the nice things that I like about going back through these
book is I'm finding things that I forgot to write down and fill in the thoughts that I had at that time. And good thing I put pictures there because it's a good reminder of what I wanted. You can see I'm still struggling overall to put and fill in this book, and that's okay because it is a life book and sometimes life does get crazy. So I did my best to try and integrate the book into my life as best as I could. As I got more clear on my health issues, I started including those in my journal too.
One of the books that I read last year was the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, and I really enjoyed this word. It's called a heart spur. An unexpected surge of emotion in response to a seemingly innocuous trigger. Having a name for that feeling is very nice. Having a word for it really helps outline that feeling a little bit better when something makes you cry or just is really touching in that well of emotion and describing it. So it's like a heart spur. It's like a pinprick. And then we have a cataclysm, a cascading crisis of self-doubt. I have this a lot, and having a name for it is absolutely relieving.
Last year was filled with different K-pop events I went to with my friends, and I'm so glad to have been into the same things as them and we can enjoy them together. There's an artist that I follow called Chris Furness, and he does little journals and daily things that his kids say or he experiences in comic form, and I absolutely loved that. And since I was struggling to be in my book at this time, as I struggle throughout the year, I chose to take a leaf out of what he did in his book and just started to include little bits of comics.
I was even lucky enough last year to go to the Renaissance Fair with a big group of friends, and it was so delightful to be out and about and hang out with them again. One of the things I like about going back through this book, I know I mention a lot, but is seeing all of the little comics that I've done. I ended up reading a lot of them again because I'd forgotten how funny these moments were in my life. You can even see when my routine had begun to change again because it took me a while to get back into drawing comics. And I didn't fully settle into drawing a lot of comics again after that. It was still a little sparse.
So I loved this. This is just a quick little poem that I wrote down about the ways I learned to love. And it's a good reminder of when I have been shown love and how to show love to others. Because it reminds me that I am loved and that there are people that are genuinely happy that I am in the world.
As we occur more blank pages in this book, I had actually promised myself that I would go back through and fill them because I knew what I wanted to write for those days, but I didn't have time or energy to go back through and do that. And I even wrote down some notes of what I wanted to do, but I didn't properly fill them in, so they never got made. It wasn't until towards the end of August, September, that I finally realized that it was time to change up how I was doing my Hobonichi, my planner, and this journaling experience, since I combined them all into one. So it was back to just using it as a memory keeper and putting different paraphernalia from the concerts that I went to in it. I still have pictures that I will be going back through and putting in that I haven't printed out, and I really want to do that so that way I can clean out my hard drive. I started to do something called 10 things, where I just wrote down 10 thoughts, 10 feelings, or whatever was up in the air at that time for the rest of the year. And then I finished it off with my book Battle Royale.
Book Battle Royale. I really enjoyed this, and I will be doing this again. Sadly, didn't get to the manga version. I lost track of it. Bye.
One of the newer fun things that I've been doing is making little pockets that I will be using and keeping different paraphernalia and jig-jag in the book. And I have a new way that I'll be dealing with some of that in the new year. But for now, we are going to paste in all the rest of the stickers for this book and call it a day.
I can't wait to see how thick this year's book is going to get. Putting them side by side is very satisfying. You can see all of the things that I've put in here.